श्री श्री राधा गोपीनाथ भगवान की, श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा माई प्रभु सुदर्शन की, श्री श्री गौरताय की जय। ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुवैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्ते काञ्चनि गौरांगी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। लिंगं च तपासिभीष्टां भस्मदण्डा च ज्योतिजिनाम् अङ्गेन सन्ध्याव्ररुचचन्द्रलेखं च बिभ्रताम्। लिंगं च तपासभीष्टां भस्मदण्डा च तोचिनाम् अङ्गेन सन्ध्याव्ररुच चन्द्रलेखं च बिभ्रताम्। लिंगं च तपासभीष्टां भस्मदण्डा च तोज्ञिनाम् अङ्गेन सन्ध्याव्ररुच चन्द्रलेखां च बिभ्रताम्। लिंगं च तपासभीष्टां भस्मदण्डा च तोजिनाम् अङ्गेन सन्ध्याव्ररुच चन्द्रलेखां च बिभ्रताम्। भस्मदण्ड जटाग्निना अङ्गेन सन्ध्याब्ररुच चन्द्रलेखां च बिभ्रताम्. Next shloka. Okay. Prabhu, go for it. लिङ्गं च तपासाभीष्टिताम् भस्मदण्डा च तोगिनाम् सन्ध्याप्ररुच चन्द्रलेखां च बिभ्रताम्. Next shloka Mataji can recite. I will do the word-to-word translation first. Lingam, symptom. Cha and tapasya. Tapasa abhishtatam. Desired by Shaivite ascetics. Bhasma, ashes. Danda, staff. Jata, matted hair. Agnyam, antelope skin. Angena, with his body. Sandhyabra, reddish. Rucha, colored. Chandralekham, the crest of a half moon. Cha, and Vibhratam, bearing. He was seated on a deer skin and was practicing all forms of austerity. Because his body was smeared with ashes, he looked like an evening cloud. On his hair was the sign of a half moon, a symbolic representation. Lord Shiva's symptoms of austerity are not exactly those of a Vaishnava. Lord Shiva is certainly the number one Vaishnava, but he exhibits a feature for a particular class of men who cannot follow the Vaishnava principles. The Shaivites, the devotees of Lord Shiva, are generally dressed like Lord Shiva, and sometimes they indulge in smoking, and taking intoxicants. Such practices are never accepted by the followers of Vaishnava rituals. उपविष्टां धर्मया वृषं ब्रह्म सनातनां नारदाय प्रवोचतां पृषते शृण्वतां सताम्. उपविष्टां दर्भमयं वृषं ब्रह्म भृश्यां धर्म सनातनाम् नारदाय प्रवोचताम् पृच्छते शृण्वतां सताम्. उपविष्टां धर्मयां भृश्यां ब्रह्म सनातनाम् नारदाय प्रवोचताम् पृच्छते शृण्वतां सताम्. उपविष्टां धर्मयां भृश्यां ब्रह्म सनातनाम् नारदाय प्रवोचतां पृच्छते शृण्वतां सताम्. Mataji, you can repeat. उपविष्टां धर्ममयां भृश्वा धर्म सनातनां नारदाय प्रवोचतां पृच्छते शृण्वतां सताम्. उपविष्टां धर्ममयां नारदायां प्रवोचन्तं पृच्छते शृण्वतां सताम्. So we won't do the word-to-word translation with this. We'll just read the translation and the purport. He was seated on a straw mattress and speaking to all present, including the great sage Narad, to whom he specifically spoke about the absolute truth. The Lord was sitting on a mattress of straw because such a sitting place is accepted by persons who are practicing austerities to gain understanding of the absolute truth. In this verse, it is specifically mentioned that he was speaking to the great sage Narada, a celebrated devotee. Narada was asking Lord Shiva about devotional service, and Shiva, being the topmost Vaishnava, was instructing him. In other words, Lord Shiva and Narad were discussing the knowledge of the Veda. But it is to be understood that the subject matter was devotional service. Another point in this connection is that Lord Shiva is the supreme instructor and the great sage Narad is the supreme audience. Therefore, the supreme subject matter of Vedic knowledge is bhakti or devotional service. He was seated on a deerskin and was practicing all forms of austerity. Because his body smeared with ashes, he looked like an evening cloud. On his hair was the sign of a half moon, a symbolic representation. He was seated on a straw mattress and speaking to all present, including the great sage Narada, to whom he specifically spoke about the absolute truth. ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. नमः विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे श्री कृष्णवादी पाश्चात्यदेवता. Please ignore my skills in kirtan. They've always been weak. Although kirtan is the yuga dharma, I've not got the opportunity to practice it much. So today we're discussing about the glories of Lord Shiva. From Shivratri, this chapter is still continuing, and we're speaking about Lord Shiva's glories every day. Generally, ISKCON as an organization is criticized, saying that we don't recognize Lord Shiva or we don't worship other devas. But then we see that it's been more than 3 months. We've only been discussing about Lord Shiva and Lord Shiva's pastimes and Lord Shiva's love towards Krishna. So the Vaishnavite understanding of worshipping other devas is that we worship other devas but in connection with Krishna. Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Ekla Ishvara Krishna Arsa Pritya. We don't. So usually the Mayavad philosophy, it sounds very lucrative. It sounds very, harmonizing and, something which takes everyone together and goes, which is very, what do you say? Which promotes togetherness. But then the scripture says that actually, if you read carefully, Mayavad philosophy is like the Timingala fish. You know what the Timingala fish is? In Ramayana and Mahabharata, it is mentioned that Timingala fish is so wide that it actually eats whales and sharks for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So, although Mayavad philosophy or Advaitavad talks about, actually Advaitavad is not wrong; it's incomplete. But just to make this point, Mayavad sounds a philosophy which takes everyone and goes together, but it is like the Timingala fish. It covers the propensity, or it covers the variety in the path of spirituality, because just like a Timingala fish, it swallows all the varieties and just makes it one, Tattvamasi, and makes it just one, merging with the Supreme. But then the Vaishnava philosophy is that they accept and they recognize the differences and they appreciate the differences, they appreciate the variety and serve the Supreme Lord. If someone wants to serve Krishna and Vatsalya, that is nice. We have Pushti Mar for that. If someone wants to worship Krishna as Dasya, as a servant, we've got Sri Vishishtadvaita philosophy for it, Sri Sampradaya. If someone wants to serve Krishna in Madhurya, but in Swakiya Bhav, Nimbark Sampradaya is there. But if someone wants to worship Krishna in Parakiya Bhav, as a lover, in Madhurya, we've got Gaudiya Vaishnavism for that. We've got Brahma Sampradaya for that. So this is the variety where Vaishnavism is actually one in its aim to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But it actually gives you the freedom, it actually gives you that liberty to access and to harness that propensity of having variety. Imagine if you've been asked to wear grey color t-shirt every day for your life. That would be boring, wouldn't it? But wearing new colors, making which highlight your personality, which highlight your uh, which which makes you more beautiful. This is what jivas. This is what the soul actually looks for. Bhagavad Gita also says Anandamaya Abhyasat. But there's definitely Ananda in Brahman, but imagine the Ananda of being maddened when Krishna plays his flute, and how when deers, when they listen to Krishna, they seem like painted pictures. The cows are giving milk because of their ecstatic love, but the calves are so stunned by listening to the flute of the Lord that they forget to drink. So the cow is giving milk, but the calf has its mouth in the udders, but has forgotten to drink the milk. The non-living things become living, and the living things become living. The non-moving things become moving, and the moving things become moving. Trees, in ecstasy, they start dancing, and Yamuna, which is flowing, stops because Yamuna wants to listen to the flute of Krishna. Imagine the Ananda, the gopis, the bliss the gopas are experiencing in the spiritual world. That's why Srimad Bhagavatam says, Vayam tu nahi vipriyatma uttam shloka vikrame yachrunvata rasa jnana swadu swadu pade pade. That every step, every word of Srimad Bhagavatam talks about new rasas, new emotions, and new realizations of these sages and of these devotees. We start from the sages and then we culminate to Rasa Panchadhyaya and we talk about the gopis. We talk about different rasas. We've got devotees serving like Prahlad and Shantaras. We've got devotees like Yudhishthir Maharaj and others who are serving in Dasaras. We got Vatsalya, supreme Vatsalya of so many parents of the Supreme Lord. Vrishni and Sutapa, um, sorry, Kashyapa and Aditi as Vaman in Vaman avatar. Kaushalya, Sumitra, Kekai, and Dashrath Maharaj in Ram avatar. Um, Devaki and Vasudev and Yashoda Mai and Nand Baba in in Krishna avatar. So there's Vatsalya Ras. Even Vatsalya Ras, there's so many variety. There's a difference in Vatsalya of Yashoda and Vasudev, Yashoda and Devaki and Yashoda and Nand Baba and Devaki and Vasudev. And there's a difference between how Kaushalya, Sumitra and Kekai deal with Lord Ram compared to how Yashoda Mai deals with Krishna. So there is variety, and this is the beauty of Vaishnava philosophy. So here Prabhupada is mentioning that who that for a particular class of men who cannot follow the Vaishnava principles, the Shaivite, the devotees of Lord Shiva generally dress like Lord Shiva, and sometimes they indulge in smoking and taking intoxicants. Such practices are never accepted by the followers of Vaishnava rituals. With this, we can see the propensity of Jiva is to become God, is to act like God. Now, Krishna had so many girlfriends, why cannot I? You don't have the face for it. You don't have the looks for it. But you know how beautiful Krishna is? Barha pidam natavara karnayo karnikaram vipratvasa kanaka kapisham vaijayantim chamala ranthan venu adharasudaya purnayan gopa vrindai vrindaranyam sapadaramanam pravishat keta kirti. Thousands and billions of muscular Brad Pitts would be serving the lotus feet of one Gandharva in the spiritual world. And that one Gandharva would be serving millions of Rudras because of the beauty of Rudras in the spiritual world. And those Rudras would be serving Vishnu's beauty. And that billions of Vishnus serve the lotus feet of Krishna because he is so beautiful. And Krishna, it's not like this pastime is there that in once Prabhupada's Western disciples, she painted Krishna in a very muscular abs and chest like form. And when Prabhupada saw it, he said, Krishna is a 16-year-old boy. He's got so tall and slender arms, and he's got a narrow, slender waist, and he's got those those sidelong glances, and he's giving those gestures to gopis, and he's like very feminine in that way. And then they said that Krishna can lift the gourd, and he must be very muscular. But then this is the beauty of Krishna. He's got a very slender waist. He's got a very beautiful, very soft hands. When Yashoda Mai sees the soft hands of Krishna, she cannot fathom that these hands were the hands which killed Putana. These were the hands which killed Trinavart and Shakatasur feet. Shakatasur. So this is the beauty of Krishna. And the propensity, coming back to the point, propensity is to become like God. If Lord Shiva would do ganja, then why cannot I do? Why cannot I indulge? Me indulging. What's wrong with me indulging in smoking? But then Lord Shiva also drank poison. If you can drink poison and survive, then you're more than welcome to join to smoke up if you want. But we have to understand that Vaishnavera Kriya Mudra Bigne na bujaya. One should not follow the ways of a Vaishnava. And especially with Lord Shiva, he's known for doing dynamic things. This story comes that once there was a quarrel between the demons and the devas, and the devas were actually losing. So they went to Vishnu, and Vishnu said, go to Lord Shiva. And when they went to Lord Shiva, Vishnu advised that ask Lord Shiva to change the style of his tilak. For Lord Shiva would wear Urdhra like us, and then he said, ask him to change the style of his tilak. So he took this tripund. Actually, a very beautiful point on tilak is that if you see Lord Ram's bow, it is a sleeping line. What does Lord Shiva have on his forehead? A sleeping line. And if you see Lord Shiva's trident, there are like 3 lines. What do we wear? 2 lines. Sri Vaishnavites have a line in the middle as well. So the Trishul. So you see this inanimate, you see this interlinked ways of expressing love. So coming back to the point that they said that if you can ask Lord Shiva to change the style of his tilak. So Lord Shiva took this tripun, and he said from now onwards the demons, because Lord Shiva is known to predominate the quality of the mode of ignorance. Therefore all the demons and goblins worship him. So he said, he told all the demons that from now onwards we will put tripun. And then when the war was happening between the devas and the demons, Lord Vishnu with his Sudarshan Chakra, he discharged his Sudarshan Chakra, and all the demons who had the tripun sign were killed by the Sudarshan Chakra, and all the ones which with tilak, with Udra Pundak, were saved. So this was the way. Now we can see Lord Shiva can act in a very rebellious way, for that matter. If someone sees someone wearing Radha Kund tilak, they start thinking, has he taken initiation somewhere else? Has he gone somewhere else? Is he no more in ISKCON? But then we see Lord Shiva, he is wearing tripun, not even Radha Kund tilak. He is wearing tripun, pretty revolutionary and pretty rebellious of him. Vaishnavas, they are every Brahmana is very particular about Shuchi and Muchi. But then what does Lord Shiva wear? A deer skin. What does Lord Shiva wear in his neck? Instead of flower garlands, he wears mundamala. And whose skulls are these? These skulls are the skulls of the beautiful devotees. Because Lord Shiva, in his Avadut nature, in his beautiful, humble Vaishnavite nature, he thinks that I want to associate with devotees 24/7. So all the beautiful heads, the skulls of these Vaishnavas, Lord Shiva just adds them into his garland. In fact, the story in Mahabharata comes of Chandrahas, who is actually a devotee of Krishna, but he was to be killed because he was in the side of the Kauravas. So Chandrahas, um, Arjuna shot the arrow, and Krishna himself sat on that arrow, and that arrow killed Chandrahas. And when Chandrahas was killed, the skull of Chandrahas was tossed in the air, and Lord Shiva grabbed the skull of Chandrahas and he put it in his garland because he was a devotee of Krishna. So this is the nature of Lord Shiva, that he 24/7, because of his humble nature, he wants to associate with Krishna. And then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, a very beautiful verse he um, recites. Vrindavanavani Jaya Soma Soma Maule Sanandana Sanatana Gopeshwara Vrajavilasi Yukangri Padme Preeti Prayachha Nirupadi Namo Namaste. O gatekeeper of Vrindavan, O Soma, all glories to you. O you whose forehead is decorated with the moon, Soma, and who is worshipable to the sages headed by Sanaka, Sanandana, and Narada. O Gopeshwara, desiring that you bestow upon me pure love for the lotus feet of Sri Radha and Krishna, who performs joyous pastimes in Vrajtham, I offer my obeisances unto you again and again. Now, we see Lord Shiva's desperation to join the dancing party of Radha and Krishna. We know this pastime, how Lord Shiva assumed the form of Kopeshwar Mahadev to become a part of the Rasa dance. So he went to Purnamasi, who's actually Bhagwan's Yogmaya. He said that I want to enter the Ras Leela. And Purnamasi hands him over to Lalita Sakhi. And he says that Lalita Sakhi says, "Oh, if you want to become a part of the dancing party, you have to assume a form of a gopi, because only Purush which is there in the Ras is Krishna. So there is no other Purush, and you also have to give up your Purush Abhiman." And Lord Shiva said, "Okay." He took a dip in Mansarovar lake, and he came back as a beautiful gopi. His matted hair became beautiful Veni, and that tall figure of, Lord Shiva was still relatively taller than the other gopis, but he had this beautiful sari, beautiful gopi dress, more beautiful than any of the gopi dress you can buy from Lohi Bazaar in Vrindavan. It's his most beautiful form of Gopeshwar Mahadev, and he enters Rasasthali, and these gopis are seeing, where has this new gopi come from which village is this gopi? And then they are asking this gopi that, "Oh, which village, kaun gaon ki ho? Which village are you from? And who's your husband? How many cows does your husband have? What does your husband do? What is the name of your mother-in-law and sister-in-law?" Because so all these questions, and Lord Shiva keeps silent, because wo to nahi bataya Lalita Sakhi ne. That information Lalita Sakhi didn't tell him. That who is your husband, how many cows he has, where does he live. So Gopesh Mahadev was silent. And then these gopis became a little suspicious, but then they said, "Okay, let's see." And then they are dancing. And then Krishna says that, "Today I'm not the only Purush here, there is someone else as well." And then the gopis say, Who else is there?" And then Krishna says, "Oh Lalite, can you check all these gopis? I think there's one more male personality over here." So Lalita Sakhi goes everywhere, lifts the skirt and sees who is, if there's any male personality in the Ras Thali. And then she comes back to Krishna and says, "All of them are women, no one, why you think there's a male personality?" And then Lord Shiva points towards this gopi with 3 eyes. And he says that he's not a gopi, but he's Gopeshwar, and he's Lord Shiva. And then he talks about the glories of Lord Shiva, and then he gives him the service of being the Kshetrapal, or the Dham Maj, or of being the doorkeeper of the Rasasthali. For us Gaudiyas, the ultimate aim is to join the dancing party of Krishna, to become a part of the Rasa. But then on the gate, Lord Shiva is there. And who is Lord Shiva? The personality, the embodiment of austerity. So at the gate, before entering, Lord Shiva will ask us, "Have you done austerities? Have you done enough austerities to come here and join the dancing party? Have you chanted your rounds with enough dedication that you can say that you want to become a part of this dancing party. Lord Shiva's austerities, when he goes on Samadhi, Parvati knows that for at least one kalpa I don't get to see my Lord, because now he's busy in his remembrance to Krishna, of Krishna. So this is how we Gaudiya see Lord Shiva. He's there at the gate of the Rasthali, waiting, and he's like sanctioning. If we've done enough austerities, if we've done our bhajan, if our intensity towards intensity in Krishna consciousness is of that level, that we can actually enter the ras of Krishna. So this is the beauty of Lord Shiva, and his desperation to serve Krishna during this pastime which comes in Bhagavatam of Banasur, where Lord Shiva takes side of Banasur. Krishna's great grandson, Anirudh, is Krishna's great grandson Anirudh falls in love with Usha, Banasur's daughter, and then Banasur gets to know about their relationship, and then Banasur he puts Anirudh into captivity, and then Lord Krishna and the Yadavas come and they fight with Banasur, and at that time Lord Shiva takes side of Banasur, and then in that battle Krishna says, there is no one who hates me more than you, Shiva. And Lord Shiva says, I'm sorry, Lord, but this was only done to express your glories, to express how strong you are and how opulent you are. And a similar pastime comes in Mohini Murti, when demons and devas, they are fighting for this nectar, and at that time the demons succeed to get the nectar, and Vishnu assumes this beautiful form of Mohini Murti, and this Mohini Murti is going through the party of the demons and giving glances and gestures to each and every demon, and each and every demon thinks that this girl loves me, and then she asks for the Amrita, the Amrita Kalash, and then the demons, they give the Amrita Kalash to gopis, to this Mohini Murti, because they don't want to hinder their prospects of having a relationship with Mohini, and they don't want to hurt her sentiments. So she gets that Amrita, and each demon is confident that she will only give Amrita to me. And then, wooing the demons, she goes to the party of the Devas, gives Amrita to the Devas, and demons are seeing this with their eyes, but they are so enamored by the beauty of Mohini that they don't even take a notice of it. And then when all the Amrita is distributed, that Mohini Murti assumes the form of Vishnu and goes on Garuda and goes back to Vaikuntha, and all the demons were like, "Ye kya hua? What just happened?" So when Lord Shiva hears about this, Lord Shiva goes to Vishnu and says, "Oh, I heard that you took this beautiful form of Mohini Murti. I want to look at this form." And Lord Vishnu said, "I don't think you would want to look at this form." And Vishnuji said, "No," Shivji said, "No, I really want to." And then he goes back of a tree and comes forward a very beautiful, slender-waisted female form with broad shoulder, broad chest and broad hips and a slender waist and long hair and golden complexion, and you can imagine the beauty of Mohini Murti. When Krishna assumes the form of the Parama Purusha assumes the form of Prakriti, of a Stri, how beautiful he would be. And he assumes this form, and Lord Shiva is so captivated by Mohini Murti. And then Mohini Murti just starts running away. And Lord Shiva, maddened and intoxicated, enamored by the beauty of Mohini Murti, starts chasing Mohini. And then Mohini is running, and she runs through these arena where all the Shaivite sages are busy worshipping Lord Shiva, and the Shaivite sages, Lord, see the Mohini Murti, but they look down because they don't want to displease Lord Shiva. But then they see Lord Shiva following Mohini Murti, and they see what is happening. Lord Shiva is following Mohini Murti. He's lusty behind this
Mohini Murti, and then later on, Mohini Murti just lets Lord Shiva touch herself, and then she disappears. And then it is said that Lord Shiva did this because he wanted to show all the Shaivite devotees that, you worship me as the supreme, but see how I am hankering after the supreme beauty of Mohini Murti, who is none another than Lord Vishnu. In fact, when we indulge in some illicit sexual activity, there's a lot of guilt which comes after. But then when Lord Shiva was running, his semen was getting discharged, but he was not feeling that guilt. He was feeling ecstasy, because it was not in lust. It was only for the love of the beauty of the Lord. If it would have been some other apsara, Lord Shiva wouldn't have got that enamored. We see this that um, during the pastime where Kamdev was sent to allure Lord Shiva. How Lord Shiva just burnt Kamdev with his third eye, and he was known as Kamantaka. So he was not lusty, but that was his love towards Supreme Lord. Any form of Lord Shiva wants to become a part of it. In Ramayana, this conversation is there that Lord Shiva tells Parvati that I need vacation for 11,000 years because my Lord is about to appear and he's about to do pastimes. And then Parvati says that, where will I go? And he says, no, I want to assume the form of Hanuman and I'll be a brahmachari because I don't want to get disturbed in my service. So I'll be serving Lord Ram for 11,000 years. So bye bye. And then Parvati says that I also want to accompany you. So can I become your tail? Because monkeys really like their tails. So this is the service attitude of Devi Yogmaya, that to serve Ram, she's even ready to become a monkey's tail. So in Hanuman's form, Hanuman is the 11th Rudra, and Shakti is the tail of Hanuman. In fact, because Ravan had appeased Lord Shiva by giving his 10 heads, that's why Lord Shiva said that I'll appear as my 11th Rudra, because all 10 Rudras have been satisfied. But what about the 11th Rudra? So 11th Rudra is Lord Hanuman, and he appears and he's serving Lord Ram constantly. And this is the service nature of Lord Shiva, and that is why we say Nimnagana yatha Ganga, Devanam achyuto yatha, Vaishnavanam yatha Shambhu, Purananam idam tatha. For us, conditioned souls, being a servant of someone is not a very superior position, but because a false ego comes in between. But for Lord Shiva, being called as a Vaishnav is more glorious than any other title given to him. Being a servitor at Vrindavan Dham, being a servitor at Navdvip Dham, being a constant companion of the Lord in the mood of service is the greatest position you can give to Lord Shiva, because he's actually the one who cuts people's false ego. He doesn't have any false ego. False ego means he knows his constitutional position as being Gopi Bhartor Pada Kamalayo Dasa Dasa Anudasa, being the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant at the lotus feet of the gopis. And this is what we should recognize, and this is what we should pray to Lord Shiva, who has the crescent moon on his forehead. Why does Lord Shiva have a crescent moon? If you see Krishna's lotus feet, they have a crescent moon at the bottom of his soul. And when Lord Shiva takes, even here the shattery, when the shattery is placed on our forehead, when Lord Shiva takes the lotus feet of Krishna on his head, that moon imprint comes on Lord Shiva, and he has a crescent moon. So we see that crescent moon as the object which beautifies the souls of Krishna's lotus feet, which also now beautify the beautiful head of Lord Shiva, and he's known as Chandrasekhar. And he has a white complexion. Karpura Gauram Karunavataram Sansara Saram Bhujakendraharam Sita Vasantam Hridayana Vrinde Bhavam Bhavami Satam Navami. He has the complexion of Karpur, camphor, which is smeared with ashes. So it looks like a very cloudy complexion, and that is what is said. He was seated on a deer skin, practicing all forms of austerity because his body was smeared with ashes. He looked like an evening cloud. On his hair was a sign of half moon, a symbolic representation. This is the beauty of Lord Shiva. He has Nagendra Haraya Trilochanaya Bhasmangaragaya Maheshwaraya. He has a beautiful necklace of Vasuki, because that shows that he's Mahakal, he's beyond time, he's Kaleshwar, because we know that Sadashiva, he is non different from Vishnu. It is an offense to see difference between Hari and Har. We see in Mayapur, and we see a form which is half black and half white. That black is Vishnu, and that other white is Lord Shiva. So we worship Lord Hari Har. There's a Hari Har Kshetra, and we worship Lord Shiva as non different, Sadashiva as non different from Vishnu. So that white complexion of Lord Shiva. And the demigod saw Lord Shiva situated in his perfection as a master of the senses, knowledge, fruitive activities, and the path of achieving perfection. He was friend of the entire world, and by virtue of his full affection for everyone, he was very auspicious. Shiva means auspicious. Shiva's, in fact, in Sanskrit, if someone has to give you blessings, they say Shivastu, something, something. That means auspiciousness be unto you. So Lord Shiva is the epitome, and he's the symbol of auspicious. He's auspiciousness personified, and we can understand, and we should take refuge in his lotus feet, to pray to him to remove our false ego of bodily conceptions, of cultural conceptions, of all these conceptions which do not lead us to this understanding of being the servant of the servant of the servant of gopis. Aradhya Vrajesha Tanayas Taddhama Vrindavana Ramya Kachna Upasana Vrajavatu. If devotional service has to be performed, it has to be performed in the mood of gopis. And if the one Lord has to be worshipped, that Lord is Vrajendra Nandan. So we should take refuge in his lotus feet. Vrindavana Vanipate Jaya Soma Soma Maule Sanandana Sanatana Nardetya Gopeshwara Vrajavilasi Yukangri Padme, the one who gives bhakti towards the lotus feet of Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagwan ki jai. So I think it's time we should end here. Any questions, comments, feedback, suggestions? Prabhu, this is surprising. Mohini, the avatar. Oh yeah, he did. He was fully aware of Mohini Murti's identity as Lord Shiva's incarnation, Lord Krishna's incarnation. Any other question? Prabhu, are you upset? Are you angry with me? The class seems incomplete without your questions. Okay, we'll end here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Shambhu Shankar Mahadev ki jai, Radha Gopinath Bhagwan ki jai. All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga, Jagat Guru Shri Prabhupada ki jai.